Hello, welcome to the channel and thanks for joining me. Today we're going to take a quick look at this Sanyo M9922RK. It dates from around 1979, 1980, something like that. I've got to say the information on this is pretty scarce. It's quite a rare item, I think, and a cursory search of the Tinterweb didn't really return any decent results. Certainly no real videos detailing the features of this and nothing showing the inside. So I thought whilst I'm going to service this one today, I'll just do a super quick video just as a reference guide for anyone that's interested, a little bit of a show and tell really. So I will give you a quick overview of the features whilst I'm here. It's got a 4-band radio, FM, it's got 2 short waves and a medium wave on this one, no long wave interestingly. It's got a master tuning dial for the radio plus a fine tuner dial as well for the short wave. With regards to the tape, it's a fairly regular arrangement with your stop, eject, fast forward, play, rewind and record. And it also has cue and review. I think it may just possibly be the one-touch record. We'll figure that out in a bit because there is a link on the top of the print there that links to record and play. So it may just be to show back in the day which buttons you had to press prior to the one-stop record feature being introduced on models. It does have auto stop though, and that's pretty much it in terms of features. So on the top we've got a tone control, we've got a mono stereo mode switch. The master control is for radio, tape and a timer sleep mode for an external connectivity to turn it on and off. We've got a balance control and a master volume, and it looks like it's only a single track volume, but it's got a groove in the actual control knob, so it looks like it's a dual pot volume, but I think it's only actually a single one. There is a nice little VU meter in there which shows the battery strength and indeed the output level and probably the input level as well. I think for the record it's got an FM stereo LED indicator in there, a couple of built-in external mics on the front, plus there's also external mics on the outside as well, so you can plug in some external microphones obviously through there. It's also got a speaker out and a DIN plug for integration with other units, as well as a headphone jack as well. There's a counter on the front for the tape, and I think that pretty much wraps it up. So as always, the items I get in tend to be in need of a little bit of TLC. So I've already done a appraisal on this, and in no particular order, there's just a bunch of little jobs to do. So one is the aerial is a bit bent, that needs addressing. There's no FM stereo, so I think the pilot signal probably needs adjusting on that. The radio is very quiet, and I think a switch clean will sort that out. Also, there's no tape volume either, so again, I think that's probably just a dirty switch rather than a failure of the amp of the tape, but I guess we'll find that out. I'll start with a quick clean and then we'll go from there. The tape does play very slowly from the tiny bit of audio I can get from it, so I suspect we just need to service it, lube it all up, put some new belts on there, perhaps oil the motor and all that kind of stuff. It needs a decent polish and a deep clean, and the handle's a bit scraped and a bit grubby, that needs polishing up as well. So I think that pretty much wraps up the introduction. So let's crack it open, get it on the Towel of Destiny and get on and get it serviced. So as always, we're going to be working with open electrical appliances here. Don't try this at home unless you are fully qualified, stroke competent and all of the above. This is for entertainment and interest only, as always. And also, if you have any specific questions or inquiries about this or indeed any of the other units that I feature on the channel, do head over to my Buy Me a Coffee page. I'd be very happy to help with any inquiries you may have. So I have featured a couple of Sanyo units, or quite a few actually, in the past, but this is the first time we've had this 9922. So I'm guessing, as always, we'll probably just crack these screws out, remove the knobs, detach a couple of contact points, probably contacts from the battery compartment to the board, and possibly an aerial connection as well, and we'll go from there. Okay, so this one's a front loader. So actually it's just the front cover that comes off with the speakers and the cassette door mechanism. All the rest is here for the world to see. It's only connected by 3 speaker terminals. We've got the positive for the left and the right, and then a common ground. So we'll get these 3 pins away, and we can take a look at the unit proper. But there it is, there's the front part. Nothing to show here, so let's take a look at the main unit. Okay, so inside we've got the power transformer here. That will send some power back out, probably over here somewhere to the main board. We've got the radio board here though, with the ferrite rod antenna tucked away behind the dial gauge. Then we've got the waveband selector switch, so we'll need to clean that in a bit to bring some of the radio back. Tuning cap there, mixer chip. That's the 19 kilohertz. It's handily marked as well for the pilot signal, so we'll be able to use that to adjust and tune the FM properly a bit later. Cassette mech obviously just here. Right, straight away we've got the the dreaded wobbly motor, so we're going to have to fabricate some new motor mounts for that to keep that stable. The counter belt actually feels alright. It's still working okay, and there's some definite bite on that. We'll probably replace it anyway though. Okay, the heads look pretty decent. The oil washer has moved a bit there on the capstan. Oh, that's not too bad. We'll clean the capstan, we'll clean the pinch roller. It doesn't feel too bad, it's quite supple, but we'll give it a nice clean. And then the selector switch, record play bar is just here, we'll clean that. All the caps look pretty good actually on the amp board, so that's okay. Yeah, no one's been in here before, everything's neat and tidy. All the original cable ties and stuff are all in there as well. So okay, in no particular order, I think I just want to get to everything and start giving it a clean. Now, just while I'm on that, I don't know how far this will zoom in, but there we go. There's some pretty grimy goings on in here after 45 years, so we'll give all that a nice clean, get all the dust and the junk and detritus out of all those switches as well. Marvellous. Alright then, let's crack on with this, shall we? So I think the first thing is probably to remove the tuner plate. It should give us access then to the screws we need to get the mech out, so I'm just going to be careful with that. You can see they are factory taped, but as long as you're careful. That's quite a nice sturdy aluminium plate actually. We'll give it a clean before we reinstall it, but for now that's fine. Okay, where do we start? I suspect we probably swing the tuner cable potentially out of the way, so we'll look at that momentarily. What I might just do though is clean the switches first, see if we can bring back some of the actual performance from this and see if it actually works or not. So do not adjust your set. I've just turned the studio lights off so that we can try the radio real quick, and we'll start with FM. So we'll put that over to there. Yep, you can see the FM stereo even starting to flicker now.
What was that? It was about 6 seconds or something like that.
And we are getting FM, which is great. Now, just turn that down quick. So the FM stereo, incidentally, sometimes it can work a bit better when it's actually out of the chassis, but it might be that now we've cleaned some of the contacts, the signal's a bit stronger and it's picking up the FM stereo, but usually it's to do more with the separation, and you find that when you put it back together it's still not quite working, so we'll still probably look at that. But in any event, we didn't have any medium wave, so let's just try that real quick now.
Judy Morris with us live on TalkSport.
There we go.
White and Jordan on TalkSport.
Good. Okay, so we've got a few medium wave stations, which is all we could hope for. Just turn the lights back on. And we've got FM as well, and we also know that the FM LED is working at least, so when we go and fine tune that, we can sort that no problem. Good stuff. Right, what about the tape then? Going to get some copyright matches with this, no doubt, but let's have a quick look. Nah, barely. Look, it's struggling. So stop. Yeah, rewind's just about working. You can probably see the counter there. Fast forward is thinking about it. Oh, yes, no, maybe. And play. Right, let's turn it up a touch. Okay, that's definitely not right. Also, the volume pot's a bit scratchy as well, so I'm going to clean that and the balance whilst I'm here. But clearly, we do need to, we need to service the mech. Good news though, that at least everything's working. Obviously, everything is still in one piece in there. Nothing's degraded, nothing's broken. We just need to freshen it all up. Good stuff. Right, I've just cleaned and lubed the pots, so we've got the tone, balance, and the volume. I'm just going to get rid of some of the worst of the dust and gunk before we go in there and actually move things around a bit. There we go, look. That's just a cursory touch through there. You can see the amount of junk that's in here, so obviously needs doing. Okay then, let's think about getting this mech out. So first thing, we're just going to loosen up a couple of the cable clamps. I'll make a bit of a note as to where everything's going. Take photos if you need to. Okie dokie. It can be hard to see sometimes where the screws are for this, but I've got one down in the bottom corner, 3 running across here, and that looks like it might be loose enough to come out. Now I've got to be mindful because some of these cables are tucked in. Right, where do they go? I'd like to think, I thought the tuning arm might be hinged, but I don't think it is on this one. So I'm going to just try and figure out how this comes away. Now I might be overthinking this, but this one's quite tricky. Basically the actuator for the record play bar, which is over here, the play bar's here, but the actuator runs underneath, and you may or may not see this, but basically the actuator bar is in there and the cassette will not clear it because it's trapped between the actuator bar, which you can't remove until you've removed the cassette, but you can't get it past this either because the whole tuning arm here is fixed. On the Hitachi TRK 8300s, for example, things like that, I think these are actually hinged so you can move them out of the way. This one doesn't appear to be. So I'm going to have a quick attempt at trying to unscrew and remove the radio board. It looks like it's self-contained and the drum is on the back, so it shouldn't do any harm. I think we've got to actually lift this clear slightly to allow us to disengage the mechanism. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5 screws to get out. Let's try that. Okay, so 4 screws out of the mech and 5 screws, different lengths and what have you as well, all out of this tuner mechanism, but still no promises. Just kind of hoping we can pull this free a little bit. unless that's got to come away from here as well. Yeah. Just need to sneak that out. There we go. Right. Good. So there's the mech. And in time-honoured fashion, these cables are all wrapped and then soldered on here. So we've got the motor cables here. We've got probably the leaf switch contacts by the looks of it. And the heads all go through, all the way through, underneath, under the board. And I don't know, probably on up and under here. So they're all a bit of a nuisance. Yeah, so it's kind of tethered every which way. That's a bit awkward. Right, okay. Anyway, yeah, good news is we can at least see what's going on. So I'll just zoom you in. Basically, we've got 2 belts here then, and they are in place. Obviously, they're well. Look at the state of that. Proper wobble on that. Just move it in for you. So yeah, it's worth doing. Well, I say worth doing. We had to do this anyway. You can see the leaf switch just there now with the contacts from that and the head cables and what have you. So yeah, basically it's going to be very easy to do. We're just going to clean this. We'll get some of this old grease out. I'm not sure how thick it is. Oh my days. Yeah. Oh, look at that. I mean, that is literally like, you know, like lumps. So yeah, that all needs taking out and redoing, which is fine. This is why we're servicing it after all. So we've got the counter belt to do. We'll get this backing plate off, measure up a new belt for this one. There's also a thick belt for the transfer underneath. But good news is, although everything's slipping under there, it does look like it's going to be okay. Now I do notice it's that horrible dreaded mech with a hinged pulley and a little spring. These are a nightmare, absolute nightmare. I don't get on with those at all, so that's going to be a laugh. Okay, so I'm going to get the flywheel backing plate off. Complete with earthing washer. So slightly different screw for that one. And there's the plate. Little nylon thrust engager just there. Doesn't look like it's got any grease. Nylon tends to be self-lubricating anyways, but there we go. Alright, well there's the first belt then. Yeah, the obvious sort of teardrop or guitar pick shape. Yeah, not too bad. At least it hasn't totally disintegrated on us, which is good news. I am going to... Yeah, we're going to take the flywheel out, I think. You'll watch the oil washer on the other side and just check the engagement on the pulley underneath. There's the little oil retaining washer. We don't want to lose that. And there's your flywheel just there. So we can give this a proper decent clean both the pulley surfaces and indeed the capstan, and then we can oil it as well when we put it back in a little while. Right then, so then also gives us this rather delightful inner belt as well. So I think to get this belt out now, this chunky little belt, I think I've actually got to brave it and remove the whole clutch arm here. Come on, just sneak out for me. Last time I did one of these, it went horribly wrong. That's all I'm going to do. Just enough to sneak it through. Not actually in bad condition, to be fair. So yeah, I'll go and use this as a template, I think, to measure that one up. Measure this, and I'll get the counter belt off as well, which is the very tricky job of that. Alright, well there's the 3 belts. I'm going to measure these up, get a kit ordered, clean up the whole mech, clean the heads, capstan, pinch roller, clean the pulleys on the flywheel, just give everything a decent clean, I think, and a bit of a zhuzh. We've also got to sort out these motor mounts, haven't we? Right, plenty to do then. So I've measured up the belts and got those on order. I've also sorted everything out into their respective trays. I've got the backing plate for the flywheel all to one side, the knobs there to clean, casing screws, mech screws, radio board screws, old belts just for cross-referencing when the new ones come. I've also cleaned the flywheel and the pulleys on that, and the capstan end. I've cleaned and degreased and re-lubricated parts of the mech, and that's all pretty good now and ready to go. Also the other side, clean the counter, clean the heads, clean the pinch roller. So yeah, just waiting for the new belts really. All I've got to do now is clean the front casing and we're pretty much there. So that only leaves us now to just sort out this slightly wobbly motor mount, and basically the rubbers have just dried back a bit. They haven't gone horrible, they haven't degraded totally, so I think I'm just gonna should be able to get away with just putting one extra little washer underneath and taking the slack out. That should sort that. So final job just before the new belts come. I always keep a set of washers handy. These ones should be big enough to allow the clearance for the bushing. Not too thick. We don't want to make up too much ground with this, just a fraction of a millimetre. And also they're stainless steel, so they won't corrode either. So the washers are in, screwed up nice and tight and sealed with a little bit of lacquer just to stop them from vibrating loose. But that's taking care of that little motor wobble. Happy days. Right, next time you see me then, we'll have the new belts in hand and we'll be ready to start putting it all back together again. And so it is a few days later now. There's the old belts. Got some new ones in. Hopefully they'll be good for size. So before we put them in, I do need to start thinking about just putting a touch of oil onto the flywheel. Just a little smidge. Lovely. Okay, I'm just gently going to put that back to one side now, but the inside of the chamber is now lubricated a bit. So next job, start getting these belts on. And I just want to get that the merest amount around that clutch, like so. Just to get that captive. And around the second pulley. And this is where the fun starts. And the trick there is just to try and roll it on. So we've now got that onto all 3 pulleys. And hopefully it's not too tight. Then secondly is the main drive belt from the motor. Nice. And then to put the backing plate back on. And finally the counter belt. Good stuff. Alright, so that's the 3 belts back on. Let's get the mech back in situ. Give it a bit of a trial run, I think, see if it works. So I was just in the process of putting the mechanism back in, and I noticed that there was a stray cable that had come detached from somewhere, and it's an occupational hazard when you're flip-flopping mechanisms in and out of the machine. And I've managed to trace it down to being the earth that goes to the motor chassis. Didn't look like it had an awful lot of solder on there, to be honest. So everything else looks pretty good. So I'm just silvering this up now and resoldering it back to the mech, and then we can try again, put it all back together. I'm going to see if I can remember which screws came out of where on the radio board, and yeah, let's see how we get on. Okay, it's pretty much put back together again, so all that remains is to give it a bit of a test. And it's rewinding nicely. Fast forward in and play.
Lockley wrote to your programme expressing his views regarding the erroneous
Something off an old radio show there, but the volume's nice and smooth.
the Highland Brigade at Magasfontein.
Beautiful.
Right, and some unfortunately he lists but were not there. He goes on to ask, why change a name that...
Nice. Good stuff. Happy with that. Put some tunage on. Lovely jubbly. All we need to do now then is just check the tape speed. I'll get this back together. See you on the other side of a fade. So here it is then, the M9922RK from Sanyo. Not many of these about now, so well worth getting back into service. When it came in, had a few little jobs to do, nothing too major. A bit of a bent aerial, very quiet radio, no FM stereo, no tape volume to speak of either, and when you could hear the tape it was running quite slowly. Also it was just generally dirty and grimy really. So what did we do? Well, nothing too major, just give it a gentle refresh, stripped it down a bit, deep clean and a polish, straightened and polished the aerial, and serviced the mech, cleaned the tape path, lubricated what we needed to, replaced all 3 belts. Yep, that's it, just a gentle refresh. So well worth doing though. Thanks very much for watching, hope you enjoyed it. Just before I go, I'll insert a little bit of radio so you can hear that. I've got to say, it's absolutely superb on this. For a 2-way speaker system, it really is quite a rich, warm sound. Hopefully this will give you an idea, so I'm just going to dim the lights so you can hear the FM radio.
Father of 3, all born in hospital more than 20 years ago. Lots changed in that time.
Happy during the cold weather. Do you want to know what it is?
Yes.
I shall tell you after this. We have a Scandinavian...
And there we go, everything's working perfectly, including the FM stereo light. And also I'll just give the tape a quick go as well. Nice strong fast forward, you can see the counter going. And rewind as well. And a nice strong eject mechanism as well. Lovely. Very nice indeed. So there we go. Just put another tape in for a bit of fun. So it's all working nicely. The tone control works well, the balance is perfect, volume is smooth with no crackle, tuning works nicely on it. All good stuff. So as I say, thanks ever so much for watching. I'll be back soon. Please consider subscribing if not already. That'd really help the channel. Thanks very much indeed. But you guys stay safe. I'll catch you soon. All the best for now. Bye bye.